What it do, E-World? Crisscrossing wires. Been a while, I know. Oh man, it was nice today. It was 70 degrees. Figured we'd do some riding, and yeah, figured I'd come out for one more ride. Just wanted to discuss something that I saw being talked about in an e-bike group. Actually, it was Telegram. Telegram is secretly on the low the social media platform where a lot of the big baller e-bikers hang out and, you know, discuss any and everything e-bike related. Man, you want to know where some of the fastest Surons on the planet are that aren't on YouTube? Those guys are on Telegram. Man, a lot of that New York crew up there, man, them guys are putting it down. They ain't playing no games. They ain't bullshitting. They doing the damn thing. But they spending a hell of a lot of money too. Anyway, you guys know the purpose of my channel was initially to try to help the little guy and try to save him a few dollars. And the only way you can really do that is DIY, doing it yourself. When it comes to these e-motos, man, you're gonna spend a ton of money if you have anyone do any type of service for you, whether it's modding your bike or building a battery. So, you know, if you have some craftsman type skills, whereas though you are pretty decent with your hands, you can learn how to work on these things yourself and build your own packs. But anyway, let's talk about batteries for a little bit, because man, batteries are about to skyrocket in price. I don't know if you guys have heard, but due to all the e-bike fires, especially in New York, you know, because there are a lot of high-rises, apartment buildings where they're having fires, and man, that tends to be pretty bad when an e-bike catches fire, man. These lithium cells, when they go into thermal runaway, man, it's a pretty violent burn that's hard to suppress. It takes quadruple the amount of water to extinguish a lithium battery fire. You know, those batteries continue to burn as long as they still have energy, so they don't stop burning until all the energy is gone. And most of us are using high capacity cells, so there's plenty of energy there, so they burn for a while. But anyway, at the same time, when we make investments in these packs, you want to get that right the first time. That's going to be your greatest investment, in my opinion. Your battery should be the most expensive component of your e-bike. Yes, there's some pretty expensive controllers and motors. Controllers over $1,000, motors over $1,000, but a battery that can run those expensive controllers and motors are going to cost 3 times that. You know, a controller is only as good as the battery that it is operating off of. Okay, doesn't matter if you have the best, most expensive controller and motor setup on the market. If you don't have a pack that can supply the current that that setup needs, you really don't have much of anything. Now, I also see a lot where people are saying what type of controllers can they run with what certain batteries. And basically, if you got a good controller where you can adjust the settings and parameters, you can run a controller on any battery as long as you don't exceed the battery's limits. Okay, so you know you can detune, turn the power levels down, whereas though it's not putting too much stress on your pack. Now, how do you know if you're putting too great of a demand on your battery? One easy way to tell if you have if your settings are set correctly is when you fully throttle, put maximum load on your controller and battery. If your voltage is jumping way back from, like, let's say you're fully charged and you full throttle, if your voltage is dropping from 84 volts back to 70 volts, dropping 14 volts, you are definitely trying to extract more current than your pack can supply. Okay, that is not good. I know a lot of people think that's normal because that happens to a lot of people, but it is not normal. It is not the right way to set up your bike. When you full throttle, you should have maximum volts going to your motor to get the highest RPM. Anytime you full throttle and your voltage drops, so does your final max RPM. So you want to set your output power to a level that when you're fully throttled, your voltage is staying up there pretty high, close to whatever it is if you're just sitting still. All right, your RPM is based totally on your voltage. That's why high voltage systems do higher top speeds. The higher the voltage, the higher the top speed, the higher the RPM. So if you're under full load, if your voltage is dropping from 84 back to 70 volts, your maximum RPM is only going to be based on that 70 volts. So it's going to be a lot lower than it would be if it was at 84 volts. All right, so do not have it, you know, most people when they are setting up their controller, they go to the DC line amps and the phase amps, and the first thing they do is turn both up to their maximum, and they turn the field weakening up to the maximum. You are only tricking yourself when you do that. As I said, imagine when you're fully throttled, if your voltage is snatching back, obviously you're not getting the maximum performance because you're putting too much stress on those cells where they can't output their maximum voltage. So you want to set those parameters in a way in which under full load you're still getting maximum volts. You're always going to have some voltage sag and voltage drop. Don't get me wrong. It don't matter how big a pack you have. Well, you can have a huge pack that you can't fit on your bike and you'd have no voltage sag at all. But however, most of us can't fit that huge battery on our bikes. So expect to have some voltage drop, but it shouldn't be 14 volts. Okay, so if you're dropping 2-3 volts, okay, that's doable. That's about the most it should be, but you should never be sagging 14 volts. All right, if you're doing that, eventually you are going to either destroy those cells where they no longer hold charge and perform efficiently, or you're going to end up sending them into thermal runaway. That is why most manufactured packs that come with 18650s or 21700s that are not high discharge rate, just a regular discharge rate. A normal cell's discharge rate is about, I mean, it depends, 5 amps, some are 5, some are 10, some are 15 amps. Okay, that is the maximum amps that a single cell can discharge and keep its full voltage potential. If you exceed that, the voltage of that single cell is going to drop back significantly. That means you're overworking that cell, and that's going to cause that cell to get hot And heat is what sends cells into thermal runaway. When you see guys, bikes catch on fire, and those guys have been on long group rides or just, you know, riding fast and, you know, putting extreme demands on that pack, just steady abusing that pack, you know, full throttling for hours at a time, you know, that's not going to last long on that pack. You know, that's why normally a BMS would shut it off. But if you, once you bypass a battery, bypass the BMS, you are the BMS. You have to take over governing how much stress you're putting on that pack, because you've bypassed the BMS, which was doing that for you. So now you have to be sensible enough to know that, yeah, I got a bypass battery. Yes, I did that so I can get my maximum power. However, I got to be sensible enough to let my pack cool down and, you know, not trash it. Especially if you're bypass, you should at least be running thermistors where you can see the temperature of your battery. Nothing else you should be monitoring. You should be monitoring your pack temperature. That's the most important thing you should be paying attention to at all times. And if that pack temperature exceeds a certain rate, a certain temperature, you should, you know, pull to the side and let things cool down a bit. You know, don't keep dogging and it's getting hotter and hotter. You ain't doing nothing but forcing that pack to have a bad day. So, you know, it's not that you can't run bypass, but once you do that, you need to be the BMS at that point. All right, so yes, another thing I wanted to say, when you go and buy pack, people buy packs for different reasons. Most people like to buy the highest amp hour pack because they're thinking about range. And yes, a pack with a high amp hour is going to be a high capacity pack. It's going to give you pretty good range. However, all packs are not equal. If you have 240 amp hour packs by different manufacturers, that don't mean that those packs can discharge the same amount of power. You can have 140 amp hour pack, and that pack only have some 18650s in it, and the most that pack can discharge is 150 amps because it's BMS limited. At the same time, those cells are probably only capable of about 200 amps max. Meanwhile, you can have another 72 volt 40 amp hour pack with milder cells, with cells that have a high discharge rate, and that pack can output 500-600 amps. Okay, and also there are BMSs that output huge amounts of amps as well, so you don't always have to run bypass. You know, you can get a 500 amp BMS, but it's going to be very expensive. Now I'll be the first to admit, on my bike, because I'm running an extreme amount of power and I monitor my pack closely, that I don't run a BMS on the output side of my pack. I'm bypassed. But as I say, I pay attention and I monitor my pack very closely. But there's no way I'm going to run a BMS on my output if I'm trying to get the maximum amps, because a BMS is going to be a bottleneck. When you have a BMS in line, it is in line on the ground side of your battery, and those amps and current is flowing through that BMS. All right, so I don't want any bottlenecks on my particular system, but I don't advise everyone to run that way. Okay, only do that if you know what you're doing. But yeah, man, it's a lot to this stuff, but you really need to understand what capacity is, what discharge is. Know that while you increase your pack's capacity, you are also increasing its discharge rate. You know, that's always going to increase, go hand in hand. The more cells you have in parallel, the more capacity you have, and the more discharge rates you have. As each goes up, they're both going up at the same time. So yeah, there's that. But man, it's about to get hairy out here. Like I said, these battery shops are catching the blues right now, man. They gotta get UL certified. They gotta have high insurance now, because all these shops, man, it's not just consumers that's having battery fires, man. Even professional bike shops are burning down due to some battery fires, and that could be because the employees aren't knowledgeable and know what they're doing, or charging with the wrong packs. A lot of times, man, most of those fires are occurring because people are overcharging packs. They're using the wrong chargers on the wrong packs. You know, a lot of chargers all have the same connectors on there, those little barrel connectors, or the 3-pin connector, or the XT60s or XT90s, and more than one charger will have that same connector. You can have 3 different PEVs where they all have the same connector. So if you accidentally use your 72 volt charger on your 48 volt pack, guess what? You're going to overcharge that pack. A lot of times it is not the BMS that is saving your pack from overcharging, because a lot of those cheap BMSs won't even stop your pack from overcharging. At the end of the day, it's usually the the battery charger that is stopping the overcharging. Your battery charger has voltage regulator in there, so when it reaches the maximum voltage that pack should be at 84.4, that charger is going to automatically shut off and stop charging. You know, the BMS is supposed to do the same, but those BMSs are passive. A lot of them don't have voltage regulators in there, so they really don't have a means in which to turn off or stop the charging. Active BMSs do a little better. It's a better brand, it's a better BMS. But man, those passive ones, don't put your faith in those, man. I've actually tested those and attempted to charge those with high charges, and guess what? They did not stop the charging. They allowed that charger to continue to elevate that voltage up and up and up. So I was just wondering, curious. I wanted to make sure BMS was working. No, it didn't stop it. So at the end of the day, it was the charger stopping the charging. All right, fellas, that's it. Just wanted to talk a little bit about batteries, man. Hope everybody had a good one. It is beautiful. Let's just do a little riding around, man, even though I ain't really going nowhere. Forgot how good it felt to be on this thing. I don't know what the hell I got rattling up here. Something's loose. I think it's my phone mount jingling a little bit. Well, it's GoPro. Man, nothing like it. Nothing like it. Instant acceleration. Feels like I'm in a damn spaceship. And I'm just barely touching this damn thing. Alright, y'all. I'll holler at y'all later. Deuces. Let's take a look at this thing. Let's take a look at this thing. Oh man, I can't help it, man. I love my bike, as you should love your bike, as we all love our e-bikes. That's why we do what we do, you know. Yeah. Oh man, this thing is beautiful. It's awesome. Not to mention the other great features that I have on this thing too, like my variable regen. You see that thumb throttle over there is for my e-brake, variable e-brake I meant. And off throttle region. As you know, when I get off the throttle, it's automatically start charging my bike. And you know, Kilowatt also has that gearing system now with 3 speeds, neutral, reverse. Really comes in handy, man. If you ever do ride on the trails from time to time, I don't do it too much, but I have done it and made a wrong turn and had to back my bike up, man. This thing, this e-moto is heavy. That's why it's not an e-bike, it's an e-moto. This thing is a good 200 plus pounds. And then I'm another 200 pounds. So we in total, we about 500 pounds. We pretty heavy. So take a whole lot of power to move me and my bike. Anyway, we about to hit the gym. I'm gonna try to make it a little easier on my bike, man. Cut about 75 pounds off. See if I can get slim and trim again. All right, y'all. Put it on y'all later. We out of here.